Hey, y'all need a break. Listen to these stories from r/entitled people. Stranger demands I give up my boyfriend. Not sure if this belongs here, but I honestly don't know where else to put it. So, this happened in the early 2000s, back when Zellers were still a thing, cause that's where this wonderful story took place. Making my sister and I around 14 or 15 years old. My mother, my sister, and I were shopping, nothing special, just mostly browsing. Our mom had gone off to look for something she wanted, leaving my sister and I to do our own thing. After a few minutes, she decides to go look for something, leaving me by myself. After she leaves, a group of girls approached me, which I really didn't take much notice of as I was checking out a rack of clothing that was popular for teen girls. After a bit, the apparent leader of this group calls out, "Excuse me." Me, yes. Entitled girl, I want to date him. I was totally confused, as I have no idea who this girl is talking about. Did she just meet someone and felt a need to ask an outsider for their input? But before I could even ask, she continued on. Entitled girl, give him to me. Me, who? Entitled girl, your boyfriend. At this point, I'm even more confused and the girl's friends are giggling and whispering, mostly how my supposed boyfriend is going to leave me or something along those lines. Which made no sense to me, as these girls were 12 at the oldest. But hey, I hear confidence is a great key in getting a boyfriend. Me, I have no boyfriend. Entitled girl, fine. Your brother, then. She was clearly getting fed up with my lack of cooperation. It then dawned on me who this girl was talking about, my sister. Now, to make things clear, my sister has been a tomboy pretty much all her life, and to boot she had a bit of an androgynous look back then. She literally looked like a teenage boy for most of her life. Me, I don't have a brother. But before I could clear up that the he this girl is talking about is in fact a she storms on. Entitled girl, your friend. Whatever. Get him back here, so I can make him my boyfriend. Me, the one you're talking about is my sister. At this point the girls appear surprised, their leader beginning to look upset and about ready to tear into me for lying, until I call my sister's name. Watching her approach, asking what I need, the girls take off running. Shortly after, my mom rejoined us and I share what had just happened with both her and my sister. Never really thought of the girl as entitled, at the time, but reading enough stories here showed that there are levels of entitlement regardless of age. But this story always brings us a good laugh. Edit, thanks to everyone for pointing out my mistake. Yes, I did mean androgynous. Secondly, I honestly did not expect this many upvotes. It does make me wonder if it's due to the story or my mistake. Either way, thanks for the upvotes. Entitled manager refuses to let me use the bathroom because I'm trans. I, 19 male, am a transgender male. I have been out as trans since before I started working at my current job, and everybody respects my name, pronouns, and haven't made any hateful comments towards me for being trans. We recently got a new manager, Karen, 27 female, who transferred from a different location of our restaurant. I have been a host, food runner, and server for this job for almost 2 years, and Karen transferred here about a month or two ago. On Monday, I was the only host during morning shift. We were slow for a while, so I told Karen I was going to the restroom. It comes to nobody's surprise that I use the men's room because I've been using it since I started working here. After I left the bathroom, Karen asks me why I was using the men's room. Note, Karen knows that I am transgender. I tell her that I was just going to the bathroom like everybody else does when they use the bathroom. I thought that she would say okay and let that be the end of it, but I was wrong. Instead, she brought some of my coworkers into the conversation and asked them if they had an issue with me using the men's room. All of them said no because they know that I'm going in there to do one thing. Go to the bath room. She didn't like that answer, and started to make some homophobic and transphobic comments about it. How do you think the guests would feel if they knew they were using the same bathroom as a he/she? I'm just asking you a question. Don't be such a girl about it. I mean, why can't you just make everyone's life easier and use the women's restroom? It's not like you have the proper parts to use the men's room anyway. At that point, I was fed up. I told her that if anybody had that big of an issue with me using the bathroom, they could talk to me about it. The women that I work with don't feel comfortable with me using the women's room anyway because they all know that I am a man. She laughed at me and said that until I get my surgeries done, I would never be a real man. I told her that what bathroom I use doesn't affect how I do my job. I've been at this location for more than 4 times as long as she has, and nobody, except for 2 instances with guests over the past 2 years, have had a problem with it. If it was really that big of a deal, she could talk to Jason, our managing partner and owner of the building, about her concerns. He knows me and has made it a point for me to feel comfortable in my work environment. I said that I was done with this conversation and that it was very inappropriate for her to be talking to one of her employees about what's in their pants. I brought this conversation up to Jason tonight and he was disgusted. He asked me to file a report and that he would have a conversation with Karen later on this week about what happened. I will keep you guys posted on everything coming up, but I am absolutely disgusted with what happened. Thank y'all for letting me vent. Update 1. I talked to Jason tonight and he is going to bring up the issue to HR and take further action after they give him orders and he speaks to Karen. Also, her name isn't Karen and his isn't Jason, but I am gonna respect their privacy. Update 2. Karen and I worked together tonight and she made it almost impossible to do my job. She harassed my tables, messed with their orders, and outed me to half of my guests. This seriously needs to stop and I hope that Jason talks to HR soon. Sovereign citizen visits a sovereign restaurant. Originally posted on r/tales from your server by u/Tokyo Flex. This happened this afternoon. I was down in the basement office and the hostess comes in. Tells me there's a man upstairs who won't wear a mask, mandated in our state in restaurants, and refuses to leave. He demands to speak with the manager. No problem, I've only done this 894 times at this point. Up the stairs I go. He's smugly leaning on the host stand. Me, sir, you have to wear a mask to be in here. Him, no, I don't. Me, yes, you do. Please put one on or exit the building. Him, I know my rights. Me, then you should know we are currently under a mask mandate in this state and we're not going to serve you without one. Him, you can't force me. Me, I'm not trying to force you. I'm simply telling you your options. Mask or leave. Him, I am a sovereign citizen and I don't abide by any laws or mandates set by any government. You hold no authority over me or my person. You are required to serve me as I am. Me, in my brain, oh for F's sake. Me, out loud, I am also a sovereign citizen, and you are currently in a sovereign restaurant. You are on sovereign ground and are subject to my requirements. I require that you leave immediately. Him. Me, please exit the building. You are trespassing on sovereign territory. Him, well there's a lot of other restaurants in this town. Me, plenty of options. Him, I guess I'll just spend my money somewhere else. Me, great, we agree. Him, storming out, this is discrimination. You'll hear from my lawyer. Me, calling after him, as a sovereign citizen like yourself, I neither recognize nor am under the authority of any court of law. Him, F off. I'm surprised he didn't film the whole thing and camp out till the police came. What is wrong with people? Catch a sovereign boot in your ass. Crazy Karen attacks me over a toy. Sweet karma shows up. I never thought I would run across an actual Karen like those that I read about here, but yesterday, I was proved wrong. So wrong. A bit of backstory. I have a 5-year-old girl that is best of friends with my neighbor's daughter who is special needs. The two are inseparable. My wife had bought our daughter a toy a few weeks ago as a reward for doing all her chores and being awarded as Student of the Week in her kindergarten class. She immediately took it over to the neighbor's house and the two girls love to play with it. It's one of those toys that comes with accessories, slime, stickers, etc. Well, since then, this particular toy has been featured on a very popular morning talk show and is now pretty hard to find. My daughter's friend's birthday is the day after Thanksgiving and asked me if we could buy her best friend the same toy as her gift. We couldn't say no to her request for her best friend. So we started looking online to see if we could find one. After a few days of no luck, one of the very popular, more bougie of the big box stores had some in stock at a store about 30 minutes away. I hit the road to try and get my hands on one before they were all gone. This is what happened when I got there and I still can't believe it happened. I got to the store, grabbed a shopping cart because I was going to grab a couple other things while I was there, and walked straight to the toy department. I looked around for a few minutes before I finally saw the toy I was after. There was only one left and I grabbed it and put in my cart. I was so glad I finally found one. I started to walk away to continue shopping when I heard a voice behind say, excuse me, but that toy was mine. I put it down and was coming right back for it. Do you mind? I replied, oh, I'm sorry. I have been looking for this toy as a gift for a very special little girl and it was on the shelf, so I'm sorry, but no. I'm going to buy it. She instantly shot daggers at me with her eyes and said, excuse me. I was here first and I need it more than you. I have a customer that ordered it and I need it now, so please hand it over. That's when it struck me, she is a reseller and had promised something she didn't have. At that point I was pretty much like, oh well, that's not my problem, but maybe they have more in the back. You should ask someone that works here, and went about my way to finish my shopping. As I was walking away, she snipped, you're a real jerk, you know that. I sarcastically responded, maybe, but I got what I came for. Have an awesome day, and walked away. I made my way to the laundry detergent aisle and quickly forgot about the woman. A few minutes later, as I grabbed some detergent and dryer sheets, I stopped to check what else was on my list. The same woman entered the aisle and quickly said, ugh, there you are. Listen. I asked an employee and they said there aren't any in the back and they don't know when more are coming in. I would appreciate if you would do the right thing and just give it back to me before I find a manager and tell them you took it out of my hands. I quickly responded. What are talking about? This toy was on the shelf and nobody else was around when I picked it up, so please leave me alone. You can't have it, and that's it. I tried to walk out of the aisle when this crazy Karen stepped in front of my cart, reached into my cart and tried to take the toy. I quickly pulled the cart back and said, "What is your problem, lady? Get away from me." Shen tried again, but this time I put my hand on the toy before she could grab it. She then dug her nails into my arm before I smacked her hand away with a loud, "WTF lady, get away from me." This is when the crazy Karen act went into overdrive. She instantly started screaming for help at the top of her lungs. "Help, help, he's attacking me. Help me, somebody." Naturally, a bunch of people quickly came over to see what was going on, and there I was. A 6'3" man with tattoos and a shaved head and beard standing there as she threw herself on the floor. Yes, she actually threw herself on the floor, screaming for help. I thought to myself, this is going to end badly for me. 2 employees were a couple aisles over and came running. Now there were a few people and the employees looking at this Karen on the ground pleading for help and screaming for someone to call the police. The employee asked what happened while helping her up from the floor and she immediately lied and said that I attacked her and took her items from her cart. I quickly stated that this crazy lady is lying and she attacked then threw herself on the floor to get me in trouble. A manager shows up and asks what happened while Karen is standing there with crocodile tears saying I assaulted her over her toy. I quickly denied the false accusation and demanded the police be called. The manager had the police called and I waited right there. The lady had a crowd of people around her, consoling her, and they're all looking at me like I'm some sort of woman beater. All the while, she is telling everyone around her what a monster I am and that she intends to press full charges against me for assault. After about 10 to 15 minutes, 2 police officers show up and start to ask questions about what happened. I explained what had happened from beginning to end and she told her twisted fairy tale. The officers asked if the security cameras had a shot of the area. We were escorted to the manager's office, and while one officer reviews the footage with the manager, the other officer asked for our IDs and stepped out of the office. More than likely to do a warrant check, I assumed. This is when Glorious Karma showed up. After a couple minutes of the officer reviewing the camera footage, and her continued lies about what happened, he asks Karen, "Ma'am, I'm only going to ask this once. Would you like to change your story about what happened?" I instantly smiled from ear to ear. "What are you talking about? He attacked me and I want him arrested," said Karen. The officer responded, "Ma'am, that's not happening." He then turned to me and asked if I wanted to press charges for assault. My answer, yes. Karen went pale as a ghost. She went on a tirade. Just then the second officer came back into the office, handed me back my ID, whispered something to the other officer and then asked Karen to stand up, and put her hand behind her back and arrested her for an outstanding felony warrant along with an assault charge. What an awesome outcome. The manager apologized to me for all the trouble as Karen was led out of the office in cuffs. The officer photographed the scratches on my arm for evidence, gave me a copy of the report for court and wished me a nice rest of my day. The manager even gave me a $50 gift card that I used to pay for my purchase and went about my merry way. All this over a toy and self-entitlement. Entitled sister burns bridge, then wants me to maintain her and her unborn baby. Using a throwaway account since she knows my personal Reddit, but oh boy, this is a long one. So, I, 27 female, moved to the US almost 7 years ago. I have 2 half-sisters from my father's side, all from different women. We used to be very close, and despite both of them being illegitimate, I shared with them part of what little inheritance I got from my grandparents. They never recognized them and left them nothing. 2 years ago my sisters also moved to the US. The middle sister, 28, let's call her Mary, got a company to host her with a work visa. The eldest, 30, Karen, not her real name, got a student visa and moved in with me since I was already working and earning a good salary. The arrangement was that I would pay bills, she would get a job at the university since she's not allowed to work outside, and that was her spending money. I would cover all bills and food. The only thing I asked was to help with some minor chores. I have a dog and a cat, and I told her she had no responsibility while she had school and work. It was fine, since I work from home, and I have a step-family that helped me maintaining my home, mostly because I'm the free babysitter for them. Pretty sweet deal for a student, right? Well, apparently that wasn't enough. While she was in school, Karen met Ken. I knew Ken from the time I went to university. He's a creep, but I thought harmless. Karen was head over heels for him. I warned her Ken had a bad reputation at the university, but she didn't care. She's a big girl, so I let it be, with the only condition that Ken was not allowed in my place. COVID hits, and my hours were cut. Karen's school goes on pause and she loses her campus job. Because of all of this, we moved into a small apartment. I took a second job and did some freelance on the side. Needless to say, I had no personal life. I am dating someone, but he was also swamped with work and bills, so we barely met each other. During this time, Karen and Ken apparently got closer and he began to appear in the apartment. Karen was not part of my lease, but my landlord was very understanding. Ken began making really inappropriate comments about me. I am not a beauty queen, I just look a bit exotic, as Ken put it. I'm mixed race from the Caribbean, so I have a bit of everything and somehow it all shows. Karen looks more like our father, he was of European descent. In all honesty, Karen is more attractive. I only look foreign in this little intermountain region city. Ken would go out of his way to touch me and was just invasive. I managed to just keep in my room when he was around or use the excuse that my pets needed a walk. I didn't know exactly why, but Karen kept pushing for me to spend time on my own with Ken. It will be good for you to bond with your future brother-in-law. They had only been dating 7 months at this point. Whatever, I didn't care. I found excuses to avoid it. November 2020 I got a better position at my main career job, so I was able to quit my second job and have more me time. I reconnected with friends and one of them asked me if I was okay. I asked why and he told me Ken had been saying he was very close to getting me for personal time. I was not okay with that idea. And I very loudly said I'd rather be hit by a train than doing anything with Ken. Since I'm in a small city in the Intermountain region, the kind that most people in the same area knows each other, a lot of people had text messages or creepy stories to tell me. That was it for me. I went home and demanded an explanation. They didn't deny it. Ken even said Karen had said it was fine and I was doing them a solid as her sister, since he had a fantasy he wanted to go for. I told them both they were disgusting and that Ken had to leave or I would be calling the cops. Ken left with some insults sent my way, and Karen began telling me she didn't see the problem since my partner and I were on a break. We were not. I told her I was not for her to sell around like property and that she had 2 weeks to find a place of her own. I was done with her. I called all my relatives, sent them copies of the text messages I was given, and no one in our family wanted anything to do with Karen. She moved in with Ken a few days later. It took me some effort, but I was able to get a restraining order for Ken. Couldn't get one for Karen. Still, they disappeared from my radar except for a few encounters which easily were solved with showing I was about to call 911. And then today happened and I had to hold back my laughter. Mary had kept tabs on Karen, since sisters and all, and she messaged me with a notice, "Hey, Karen just called me. She's pregnant and Ken kicked her out." I just stared for a few minutes and responded, "Oh, that's sad." Mary knew, and supports, that I don't care or have any intentions to help. Karen used Mary's phone to call me. She begged me to help, since Mary is only letting her stay for a week before she moves to another state. Said that she missed her little sister and had no one else to go to. That she knows I have family health insurance, I pay for private health insurance for 2 relatives that are in hard times and have health conditions, and that I could do something like that for her pregnancy medical bills. This baby is a blessing and I should want to help her raise it. Meaning, I pay for everything. I let her pour her heart out for a good 5 to 7 minutes, then said nope. I ended the call. She tried calling again for a while, then stopped when I got a text message from Mary saying she had left her phone on the counter and she was sorry for the spamming. Most of my family agrees with me, even Karen's mom. The only one that disapproves is Karen's aunt. She's not my aunt, but I called her aunt anyway since I've known her for many years. She's been putting pressure on me most of the day. She only stopped when I told her one more message and I would show her text messages to my stepfather, who is her landlord. I feel bad for the baby, to a point. But this is one of those moments that all I can think is this is not my circus, and these are not my monkeys. Edit 1. Someone mentioned the region inconsistency. I never looked into it, since I didn't really care, but where I live I heard Midwest and Northwest interchangeably. As far as I was concerned, it was the same thing. We don't have that type of regions in my country. So, I decided to Google while at work and found out neither is right. I live in the Intermountain region. Thanks, random stranger, for making me check on the messy regional system. Not even Google agrees on it. Also a small explanation on my grandparents. They were very old traditionalists. By the end of their lives, they didn't have much to give, so they chose to give it to the legal grandchildren. My sperm donor father had many children. I might not even know all of them. Grandparents were just tired of every other year having a new grandchild appear, and in some cases a moocher mother attached. Last, Karen's visa. She had an extension since COVID, but that is over. She's overstaying her visa. This is very common. I have relatives that do it. I don't agree, but I also had one foot in since my stepfather is American. Here's an update for anyone curious in the mess that is my family. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments.